Okay, cool. 1 second. Okay, hi everyone. We'll just start in about like 1 minute from now. So yeah, thank you. Okay, hi everyone. We'll just wait for a couple of people to join. Hope to the ones who are watching, hope all of you are doing good. Hi Umesh, hope you are doing well. So today we have a very interesting study session which we used to do earlier as well, and we thought of like have bring back the same set of people, which was Prajit, who's the coach from Monster Pro Club, who'll be joining us again today for one of the another study sessions of poker. And this is something that we thought of calling it called as the Pokerpedia, because every Monday you see us where we talk with poker players about their journey, about how their poker process has been. And Pokerpedia is a lot about talking about how to play, to learn, to further educate ourselves about the game. So today we'll be joined by Project, who's the coach at the Monster Poker Club, and he'll be taking us through a quick session on note making and profiling, which is one of the important aspects of tournament poker. Uh, so yeah, we'll be having Prajit joining us soon, and yeah, we'll make it Hindi English for sure. So Umesh, don't worry, Hindi में भी बात करेंगे. So we're gonna be having Prajit, who'll जो आज study session को host करेंगे 9 stacks से. So I think without further ado, let's have Prajit joining us.
Okay, guys, I'm being told that you guys can hear me and see me as well.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I had a
Okay.
sudden internet.
Yeah,
So
that's what I
hey
thought. You
Prajit,
left me alone. You left me alone, man. That's what I was confused for a
I'll
minute.
I'll let you alone when you start talking, because that's your department. That's definitely not mine. But yeah, anyways, how are you doing, Prajit? It's been a long time that you're coming back again at one of our webinars. Yeah, how are you
Pretty good,
doing?
pretty good, pretty good, Karan. How are you? Thank you, first of all, for the introduction. Thank you, first, and secondly, for having me again. I believe this is the third time we're tying up between
Yeah,
MPC and Nine Stacks. It's been
yeah.
awesome in the previous two times. I'm always looking forward to doing something like this with you guys. Awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool, thanks. So Prajit, how it's been? Like, I recently heard that I got to know that Monster Book Club came up with a newer version, a better version. You guys actually came up with more products in your Monster Book Club cycle, where it earlier used to be just a Discord. Now you have a website. You are coming up with merchandise. You guys are doing coaching. So how did all of that start? Like, what was the
This
idea
is
behind it?
here's the thing. I mean, as in when like we progressed as a community, we start going bigger and bigger. We just had more doors open up for us, right? We had more avenues to kind of tap on. So this is just a byproduct of the things that we thought we should be doing and expanding. So you're right when you say that we obviously launched our website end of August. That went pretty well. We came up with a brand new course, which I think we will be touching and talking a little bit about in the end of this session after we're done with the study. We're also
Sure.
planning to come up with some merchandise in the future. There's a bunch of other stuff happening in the background as well. So there's just a lot of exciting stuff happening all together at MPC.
Cool. So I think before I hand it over to you and you start taking further, but just to understand, like, are you also getting time to put volume because you are a poker player yourself?
I mean, here's the thing. So at this point in time, in the last month or so, I have been trying to build a structure around the kind of things that we want to do, and also figure out my level of involvement in all the things, because we're a team behind everything. It's not just a one man show. It never is, right? So there's a bunch of guys who are doing stuff behind. So we have to kind of create a structure, understand the kind of things that I have to be involved in. Based on that, I also create a calendar for myself to grind. So having said that, in the last month or so, I haven't been up to pace with the level of grind that I would like to have. But going forward, once now the structure has been created and the things that I have to do are all in place, I will be putting in a lot more volume. So looking
So
forward to
like,
that as well.
what's the team like? Like, you have a big team or something like that that's working, or you have like, is it just you or Sumit, or how's it?
No, so we don't have a huge team. What we essentially have is myself and Sumit, and then there are people who are helping us at the marketing front. There are also people who are helping us in operational things and administrative things at in Discord, like a person named Angiras, who's also helping us there, back end stuff, doing stuff on Discord, posting stuff on our social media, so on and so forth. Beyond this, we also have a lot of key members who are just helping hands within the community. You know, like we're now 1100 plus. I mean, I think we're about 1150 members as of right now, and out of which we have a lot of key members who are literally brand ambassadors for us, on the table, off the table. They help us push out the word, they help us do stuff other than, you know, they're just helping hands. I mean, it can't be done by two or three people, to be very, very honest, and it's
Of
not
course,
easy to
yeah.
build and run a community. So I have to give credit to everyone who's a part of the community who kind of helping us build it.
Cool. Okay, I think before we move forward, I think Manik just asked me, Karan, was there a Man Ki Baat session this week? No, Manik, actually, oh, Prajit, for you also, since you have been part of our Man Ki Baat session in the past as well. So we basically concluded our season one of Man Ki Baat last week, and we
Yep.
thought of taking a break for a week and come back with the season two, which is going to be a little better in terms of more activities with the guests. We're going to be making it more exciting with better giveaways, of course. And given the fact
Okay.
that the whole IPL fever and people are being switching to their TVs at 7:30 sharp, so I thought they would prefer seeing the cricketers, not me. So we'll be starting on the coming Monday at 6:30 p.m. So yeah, we're gonna be
Awesome.
having season two for Man Ki Baat. Not thought it's gonna go this long, but yeah, it's good. I would
Awesome,
say.
awesome, awesome. I mean, you've got some pretty good response for Man Ki Baat as well, and you
Yeah.
had some super people coming in for that as well, man. So that's been great. Congratulations.
Thanks, Rajat. So, Rajat, I think it's time you take over. For everyone to know, Rajat is going to give us just like a quick like he's going to take us through a small study session of poker where he's going to be explaining a lot in detail about the what the it's about. Wait, note making while you play MPT tournaments. And I
Yeah,
think I've
and player
always
profiling.
Prajit, yeah, and player profiling. And I've always been listening to Prajit when he definitely gives such gyan because he actually tries to break it down into such a low, like it is so basic, it becomes so basic to understand that we might have not even imagined. So Prajit, I really like how you actually break down things to the basic level, even if they are very advanced in your own way. But I think that is something that you're good at. Prajit, we had one request from one of the guests while I was introducing you. He said
Mm-hmm.
that while you are teaching, if the session can be a bit in Hindi as well, I think that can
बिल्कुल,
be great.
बिल्कुल.
So if you can
Sure.
do that, so acha rahega. With that being said, Prajit, over to you. I'll see you in a while, and let's study poker now. Over to you, Prajit.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Karan.
Yeah,
I'm going to take it forward from here, guys.
sure.
I hope each and every one of you can see my screen. First of all, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. I'm going to try and make it as informative as possible. I'm also going to speak in both English and Hindi so that everyone who is listening in can understand. So, to start off with, I think one of the most important things in poker, alongside the skill set that you develop for yourself, is player profiling and in-game note making. ये एक ऐसी चीज भी है जो आई फील बहुत सारे लोग इग्नोर कर रहे हैं. बहुत सारे लोग ये सोचते हैं कि यार मैं रेंजेस पढ़ लेता हूँ, मैं थ्री बेटिंग पढ़ लेता हूँ, मैं बाकी चीजें पढ़ लेता हूँ, हैंड एनालिसिस कर लेता हूँ, मैं अपनी गेम सुधारने पे तुला रहता हूँ, बट दे काइंड ऑफ फॉरगेट दीज थिंग्स लाइक प्लेयर प्रोफाइलिंग एंड इन गेम नोट मेकिंग. एंड टू बी वेरी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, टुडे आई एम हियर टू शो यू एग्जैक्टली ये चीजें क्या हैं, what is the relevance of these things, how can you actually adopt these things in your game, and the kind of benefits that you can actually start securing if you utilize these things properly. So if you have any questions, guys, you can obviously keep writing them in the chat. After I'm done with this session, me and Karan will be addressing some of those questions and trying to answer as many as we can so that there are no doubts left. So without wasting any more time, I'm going to basically move on to explaining the importance of player profiling and in-game note making. First things first, सबसे simple चीज ये है कि I like to start by defining वो चीज है ही क्या. So what is player profiling? जिसको ये समझ नहीं आता है, you need to understand it is nothing but you are in the game and you're trying to judge people, the other players on the table, based on what they are doing. So based on their style and different tendencies in the game. So my point being, player profiling is one of the key aspects of the game. All we're doing is judging a player based on their style and tendencies and putting a tag on them. What we basically do is we just understand the kind of things a player is doing on the table. So those things could be, so a player could be doing certain things very right. So a player could also be doing certain things wrong. A player could be aggressive in a situation. A player could be passive in a situation. These are different things that you, based on your in-game awareness, have to understand and tag that particular player based on what type you think he is. वो कितने types हैं वो मैं आगे cover करूंगा, but at this point in time, this is what player profiling is. So profiling in poker is about identifying a player based on his style of play, based on his tendencies, based on his mistakes, based on the things that he's doing correctly. And by doing that, we tag that player as a certain type, which allows us to have multiple benefits at different levels in the game. So this is what profiling is. Now in the next slide, I want to cover what is the importance of profiling. So some of you might already have this question in your head कि यार ये मैं क्यों करूं, इसका फायदा क्या है, मैं अपने दो पत्ते देखता हूं, मैं अपनी गेम समझता हूं, मुझे पता है मेरे को कैसे खेलना है और मैं अपना बेस्ट खेलता हूं. And why should I even give importance to something like this, you know? And to answer that, I want to tell you something very basic and organic about poker as a game. So poker is a game of making decisions consistently. So those decisions can be pre-flop, post-flop, on the turn, on the river, wherever. So the idea is to make decisions and to make consistently correct decisions. And in order for you to make correct decisions, you have to have information, right? So profiling is in a way giving you additional information about your opponents. You need to understand that a good opponent would be doing the same thing versus you. So if you're not doing the same thing against that opponent, he will have more information about you than you having about him. इससे कुछ नहीं होगा, बस उसके पास आपके अगेंस्ट ज्यादा रीड्स होंगी, he will be able to play better against you and you would be left thinking in a lot of situations, जो कि गलत है. आपकी गेम पीछे होगी इस चीज से. So the major importance of player profiling is that you will learn more information about your opponents, period. Once you understand आपका opponent क्या कर रहा है, किस situation में कैसे कर रहा है, and you have some idea about him, you will be just be able to play him better. The other most important thing that people actually tend to forget in poker is that it is not just about playing your cards. आप अपने दो cards नहीं खेल रहे हो poker में. आप इसके साथ साथ more importantly you're also playing your opponent. Poker is about playing your cards, yes, but also more importantly playing your opponent. जरूरी नहीं है कि आपके ओपोनेंट के पास कुछ पत्ते होंगे जिसकी वजह से वो आपको कॉल कर रहा है. जरूरी नहीं है कि आपका ओपोनेंट हमेशा कॉल करेगा, वो आपको ब्लफ नहीं करेगा. एंड यू विल नेवर नो दीज थिंग्स अबाउट योर ओपोनेंट्स इफ यू आर नॉट प्रोफाइलिंग देम बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग अबाउट देम इज. सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज जब आप किसी को प्रोफाइल करते हो, जब आप किसी के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन गेन करते हो, वो ये है कि उस इंफॉर्मेशन के बेसिस पे अब आप कुछ नई चीजें अपनी गेम में इंप्लीमेंट करोगे. You will be able to implement certain exploits in your game and use those things to make exploitative decisions against your opponents. तो एबीसी पोकर के जगह आप हट के, अगर आपको पता है आपका एक स्पेसिफिक ओपोनेंट ज्यादा पत्ते फोल्ड करता है, राइट, जस्ट टू गिव यू द मोस्ट बेसिक एग्जांपल, अगर आपको एक अपने ओपोनेंट के बारे में पता लग गया कि वो टाइट प्लेयर है, वो नेट है, वो पत्ते ज्यादातर फोल्ड करता है, वो खेलता नहीं है, so you can then start opening a wider range of hands against that person because you know you can easily make money against that particular player. And the last importance is that if you do this, going in the future, you will realize that in a tournament, you will find yourself on tables where you will have reads on different opponents, where you will have tags on different opponents, and it'll just make your life easier. So imagine you're on a final table and you have some sort of reads or tags on 5 players out of those 8 or 9 players, right? It will just make your life easier because you will be able to adjust your game based on different players. So आप एक ही टाइप की गेम हर प्लेयर के साथ नहीं खेल रहे होगे, आप डिफरेंट गेम खेलोगे अलग अलग प्लेयर्स के साथ because you will be adjusting based on what information you have gathered across playing with them, throughout playing with them. So this is the key importance of player profiling in poker. Now if you understand this, I'm going to give you some examples of what different profiles are, कि किस टाइप के प्लेयर्स होते हैं, उन प्लेयर्स को पहचानते कैसे, कि उनकी टेंडेंसीज क्या है, और जब आपने पहचान लिया है और उनको टैग भी कर दिया है, तो व्हाट एडजस्टमेंट्स डू यू नीड टू मेक इन योर गेम टू प्ले बेटर अगेंस्ट देम, राइट? सो आई मेड अ स्मॉल टेबल In this table, I am basically going to show you the player types जो मैंने यहाँ पे लिखे हैं. So ये खाली 5 टाइप के नहीं होते हैं guys. To be very very honest, मैंने यहाँ पे खाली 5 mention करे हैं. There can be many other type of players as well. There can be players who are also 2 types at one, right? So those are things that you will have to adapt to in the game. But the idea of this table and the idea of this brief session is to help you understand some of the most basic types of players, right? So let's start with something like nits. तो अब जब मैं निट्स की बात करूंगा तो पहले मैं आपको बताऊंगा टेंडेंसीज क्या है उसकी. टेंडेंसीज का क्लियर मतलब ये है कि वो करता क्या है, व्हाट इज ही डूइंग फ्रीक्वेंटली इन द गेम, जिसकी वजह से हम उसे एज अ निट टैग कर सकते हैं. अब अगर हमें पता लग गया वो करता क्या है, तो हम किस टाइप की एडजस्टमेंट्स करना चाहते हैं अपनी गेम के अंदर, सो दैट हम उसके अगेंस्ट, ऐसे प्लेयर एक निट के अगेंस्ट इफेक्टिव खेल पाए. The maximum money that we are able to get against the nits is going to be through these adjustments that we make in the game. So first things first, एक nit की पहचान क्या है? How do you actually understand who is a nit? First things, दो चीजें हैं इसके अंदर. ऐसे तो बहुत सारे aspects होंगे, but I'm telling you the 2 most important things that you need to observe about your opponent. One is a person who likes to wait for good hands to open pre-flop. So typically क्या होता है, कुछ लोग बहुत ही tight होते हैं pre-flop. हर पोजीशन से, चाहे वो अर्ली हो, मिडल हो, लेट हो, दे आर नॉट मेकिंग एडजस्टमेंट्स टू देयर रेंजेस, दे आर जस्ट वेटिंग फॉर ओनली गुड हैंड्स टू प्ले. सो एक तो ये पहचान होती है. दूसरी है कि दे लाइक टू वेट फॉर द नट्स पोस्ट फ्लॉप. अब अगर वो फ्लॉप उन्होंने ओपन करा या उन्होंने आपको कॉल करा प्री फ्लॉप, पहली बात तो आपको पता है कि वो खाली अच्छे हैंड्स के साथ आ रहे हैं. दूसरी बात ये है कि अगर उनकी कोई कनेक्टिविटी नहीं होती है ना बोर्ड पे, तो वो तब भी बेट नहीं करते हैं. दे आर वेरी पैसिव पोस्ट फ्लॉप एज वेल. So they are tight pre-flop and they're also very very passive and they're also very conservative post-flop. तो उनकी तरफ से you will not expect any bluffs. You will not expect them to bluff. You will not expect them to semi-bluff. You will only understand that after a while ये बंदा bet तभी करता है जब इसके पास कुछ होता है, right? या उसके पास कुछ बहुत बना हुआ hand होता है, तभी वो बहुत सारे पैसे अंदर डालता है. So these are the 2 reads and tendencies of nits. Now how do you play against such players? पहली चीज, you need to ramp up the aggression. सो इफ यू नो कि एक बंदा खाली अच्छे हैंड्स ही खेलेगा, सो आप अंडरस्टैंड करो द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ हिम हैविंग अ वेरी गुड हैंड इज एक्सट्रीमली लो. तो उसके पास ज्यादा टाइम अच्छे हैंड तो होंगे नहीं. मोर ऑफन ही विल हैव बैड हैंड्स व्हिच यू नो ही डज नॉट प्ले. सो अगर आप अपनी एग्रेशन बढ़ा दोगे इसके अगेंस्ट, एंड इफ यू स्टार्ट बीइंग अग्रेसिव अगेंस्ट दिस गाय, you will get extra folds and you will make auto profits. That is extremely important. The other is easy to bluff and steal from. तो लेट्स से यू नो आपका एक ओपोनेंट है जो एस किंग, एस क्वीन, एस जैक, अच्छे एस एक्स हैंड्स खेलता है और बोर्ड आता है छोटे पत्तों का, राइट? एंड यू सी हिम चेकिंग एंड यू सीन हिम चेकिंग ट्वाइस. फ्लॉप पे भी चेक करता है, टर्न पे भी चेक करता है. नो दिस इज वेयर यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट ही हैज नो कनेक्टिविटी विद द बोर्ड, बिकॉज आपके पास ऑलरेडी उसके ऊपर एक रीड है कि वो नेट है. तो आपको पता है अगर वो नेट है तो वो पोस्ट फ्लॉप बेट भी नहीं करेगा अगर उसके पास कुछ लगा नहीं है. So इस केस में even if you don't have anything, even if you don't have any connectivity with the board, even if let's say you had something like ace 10 or an ace 9 or an ace 8 and you have zero connectivity with the board, you can easily bluff your opponent off it, because he will not pay you any money when he is not connected with the board. He would rather fold. So वो fold कर देता है. So this is how I've explained nits to you. So there were 2 tendencies and 2 basic adjustments that you can make in your game. Similarly, we're going to talk about certain type of players who we tag as calling stations. As the name suggests, guys, these guys almost always just call. They only raise with very strong hands, but इनका काम होता है कॉल करना. आप फ्लॉप पे बेट करोगे कॉल, टर्न पे बेट कॉल, रिवर पे बेट कॉल. They will call you with weak holdings also. ऐसा नहीं है कि हमेशा वीक होंगे, बट इनकी प्रॉब्लम ये होती है कि अच्छे हैंड्स के साथ तो कॉल करते हैं, कभी कभार रेज कर देते हैं अच्छे हैंड्स के साथ, बट वीकर होल्डिंग्स, वीक ड्रॉज, बैकडोर ड्रॉज, इनके साथ आपको बहुत ज्यादा कॉल करते हैं. सो दे नीड टू बी फोल्डिंग सम हैंड्स व्हिच दे आर नॉट. तो ये वो ऐसे लोग हैं जो आपको ज्यादा कॉल करते हैं. तो इनके अगेंस्ट आप क्या एडजस्टमेंट कर सकते हो? आस्क योरसेल्फ गाइस. आई एम गोना टेल यू, बट यू नीड टू रियली आस्क योरसेल्फ दिस एज वेल. फर्स्टली, इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड समबडी लाइक्स टू कॉल यू, एक आदमी है जो बॉटम पेयर के साथ आपको कॉल करेगा फ्लॉप पे, टर्न पे और रिवर पे भी, तो इस आदमी को ब्लफ मारने का तो कोई पॉइंट ही नहीं, बिकॉज आप कुछ नहीं करोगे, अपने पैसे दे दोगे उसे. उसने तो फोल्ड करना नहीं है. He's going to keep calling you down. So the idea is to reduce our bluffing tendencies against such players. First things first, clear कर दो ये वाली बात. Do not start bluffing people who you think call you down with anything. Secondly, when you reduce your bluffs, you need to start playing a little tighter and have more value hands. Now look at the other side. लेट्स से यू नो समथिंग अबाउट अ ओपोनेंट कि वो आपको कॉल करता है विद वीक होल्डिंग्स ऑन द फ्लॉप, टर्न एंड रिवर. ऐसे ओपोनेंट के अगेंस्ट, is it not profitable for you to actually have some value hands? Is it not profitable for you to have some made hands before you bet? Because you know he's going to call, right? So you rather have a made hand and then you end up betting. And in these situations, when you know somebody likes to call, you can also increase your bet sizing because he's anyways not folding. So आप कम की जगह बड़ा bet करो जब आपके पास कुछ है, और जब आपके पास कुछ नहीं है, just check. Do not, there is no reason for you to bet because he is going to call you with anything. He's going to call you with bottom pair also. So save your money, and when you do connect with the board, take extra money. Don't bet small then. Bet big against such guys because you know he's going to call you anyways, right? So take more value. So play a little tighter and add more value hands, and you can also increase your bet sizing if you think you have a very, very good value hand and you know your opponent is going to call more often. Now there's another type which is called loose aggressives. In my opinion, these are good players and sometimes bad players also if they're not maintaining a good amount of balance. But generally, if people who are loose aggressive have some sort of balance in their game, they tend to be very, very good players. That is because it becomes extremely difficult for us to play against them. It becomes very, very difficult for us to have any sort of conclusive reads on them. तो क्या होता है कि they have a reasonably wide opening range, they also have a reasonably wide three betting range. वो अच्छे हैंड्स के साथ भी यही करते हैं, वो थोड़े मीडियम स्ट्रेंथ हैंड्स के साथ भी यही करते हैं, वो कभी कभार बीच में बुरे हैंड्स भी मिक्स कर देते हैं, तो आपके पास कोई अच्छी रीड नहीं है उनके अगेंस्ट खेलने के लिए. एंड देर ऑल्सो वेरी अग्रेसिव पोस्ट फ्लॉप, क्योंकि उनकी रेंज इतनी वाइड है, तो पोस्ट फ्लॉप पे आपको ये भी नहीं पता कि उनका कनेक्ट हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है. You also don't know if he's bluffing or if he's actually betting for value. So it tends to get very, very difficult to play against such players, right? So my suggestion and the adjustments that you need to make against such players is that you need to try and play more hands in position at least. क्या है कि पहले ही उनके पास एडवांटेज है बिकॉज वो अच्छे प्लेयर्स हैं, बिकॉज वो वाइड हैं, बिकॉज वो बैलेंस्ड हैं, बिकॉज वो अग्रेसिव भी हैं पोस्ट फ्लॉप. सो एटलीस्ट we need to have one advantage to our side, which is the positional advantage. So try and play more hands which are value heavy in position against them. Now, sometimes such players also have the tendency of being overly aggressive or being not balanced. अगर आपको लगता है आपके opponent के अंदर ये trait है, and if your opponent has the ability to bluff a lot, A, B has the tendency to be over aggressive, so in these situations, I would just want you to check call against them. Just check call, let them bluff, let them keep their bluffs inside the game, just easily take the money that they are paying you off with, right? But the idea is to be very careful against such players because their ranges are wide. It is very difficult for us to have any accurate reads on them. So ये वाला चीज ध्यान में रखते हुए try and play more hands in position against such opponents. So loose aggressive, be a little careful against them. Now coming to another category which is called tight aggressives, which we're on number 4, guys, if you've been following. These guys are also good players, generally good players. These are players who are also extremely disciplined. These guys like to follow their ranges very meticulously. They will be strict with their opening ranges, they will be also very strict with their three betting ranges. तो क्या है, ये इनकी अच्छाइयां हैं, बट इसके बेसिस पे हमारे पास बहुत सारी रीड्स भी आ सकती है उनके ऊपर, बिकॉज वी नो दैट दे आर वेरी robotic when it comes to following their opening ranges, when it comes to following their three betting ranges. थोड़ा बहुत बैलेंस करते हैं, थोड़ा बहुत मेंटेन करते हैं, बट देर वेरी वेरी डिसिप्लिन. तो इससे क्या होता है, वी हैव द एबिलिटी टू गेट वेरी वेरी एक्यूरेट रीड्स ऑन देम. सो फर्स्टली वी वांट टू मेक नोट्स and get accurate reads on players like these. Secondly, you need to understand that in some ways, when you tend to follow your ranges very strictly, you also in some ways become nits. Okay, बिकॉज एक चीज कॉमन है दोनों के बीच में कि we're in some ways waiting for good hands pre-flop to open. Now nits की प्रॉब्लम ये है कि वो ये सारे हैंड्स हर पोजीशन से वेट करते हैं. A tight aggressive player would be loose from late position but still be tight from early position. So based on the position this player is playing on, you can in some ways be easy to bluff and steal if you think the board does not connect with their specific range. So the idea is tight aggressive players को observe करो, उनकी गेम देखो, understand the ranges that they're trying to play, and based on those ranges make notes on them, and that is when you can easily start bluffing them and stealing against them, because you know अगर वो early position से open कर रहा है और board नीचे के पत्तों का आया है, yes of course he has some pocket pairs, which he will continue against. But then there are also certain cards like ace king, ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, a king queen suited, so on and so forth, hands which have zero connectivity with the board, and you can start bluffing and stealing those particular cards on specific boards against these players. So have that thought in your mind who you're playing against. Now, to give you another example, there are loose passives as well, जिसके अंदर हम फिशेस आती हैं, जिसके अंदर वेल्स आती हैं. वेल्स आर नथिंग बट फिशेस ऑन स्टेरॉइड्स. बड़ी मछली को वेल कहते हैं और कुछ नहीं होता यहाँ पे, राइट? सो generally, if you want to tag them, you can say, you can qualify them as fishes, you can tag them as whales, you can tag them as bad players. It's completely your choice. Now, how does one qualify as a bad player? One is basically they lack fundamental understanding of the game. Basic knowledge की कमी होती है. You can understand that by their bet sizing. You can understand that by them calling extremely wide hands, them also calling extremely wide against 3 bets, them also opening a very wide range of hands, them being very erratic. कभी भी कोई भी hand खेल लिया, कभी भी कोई भी hand all in कर दिया, making illogical and weird decisions. When you come across a player like this, these guys are usually very loose, very passive, and these guys also tend to have zero understanding, or actually very little understanding about what they're doing. Because poker is about having logic in every decision that you take. Now, these guys tend to take a lot of illogical decisions on the table, and that is why they tend to qualify as bad players. Now, what do you want to do? Firstly, एक bad player ऐसा player है जो आपको सबसे ज़्यादा पैसे देगा. So the idea of making profits and making good plays, and the idea of actually minting money against a type of player is these. So you want to widen your playing range against them, because you know that they are the ones who will be making the maximum amount of mistakes in game. So you want to play against players who are making the maximum amount of mistakes. It's as simple and logical as that. You also want to play more pots with them. Try and isolate them. Let's say a weak player open karta hai and you have a pretty decent hand. You want to raise and isolate that player and play in position against that player, because he's going to make mistakes and he's going to pay you off, right? And value bet relentlessly. So because these guys, so bad player could also be a calling station. You know what I mean? So if you have a read on a bad player and you know that he's a calling station as well, and he's a maniac at the same time, so ऐसे बंदों के साथ what you can do is you can start value betting relentlessly, because you know he's going to call you, you know he's going to make mistakes, and when you actually make up hand, just bet, get paid. The idea is to target these guys. So there are a bunch of other type of players as well. I've covered 5 today with you, so that you have a basic understanding about the tendencies कि bro ये लोग करते क्या हैं, इन लोगों का मेन स्टाइल क्या है खेलने का, क्या चीज कौन सा बंदा करेगा जिसके बेसिस पे आप उसे कैटेगराइज कर सकते हो. So understand these categories and understand these tendencies that these different players will have, and based on that give them a basic category of a player. Now once you understand these things, that is where the third column comes into the picture, which is you need to then start looking at making these adjustments. These adjustments are the things that will add value to your game. If you just keep giving a type to a player and understanding their tendencies and you don't make any adjustments, your game will not improve. The idea is to profile players only for one reason, that is to make adjustments in the game. These adjustments are going to help you go deeper into tournaments. These adjustments are basically going to help you get auto profits in tournaments in certain situations where you were not making money, right? So it's extremely important for you to understand these things and make adjustments in the game. Now moving on to the second aspect, which is also extremely important. Till now, what we've done, guys, is we've covered player tendencies, and we've covered player types, and we've covered profiling a basic player. Now what we're going to do is we're also going to take it another level, take it to a next level, where I'm going to explain how note making correlates with what we've studied till now, and also basically adds value to certain aspects of the game, right? So at this point in time, let's talk about note making. So it is another very important aspect of the game. In addition to profiling players, because player profiling guys will only tell you the type of player and it ends there. Whereas making notes kind of takes it to another level, where we are talking about specific information and reads about a particular player. So a player profile will tell you, यार ये tight है, ये loose है, ये aggressive है, ये passive है. That's all, right? But इसके अंदर वो tight कितना tight है? वो लूज कितना लूज है, वो पैसिव कितना पैसिव है, वो अलग अलग सिचुएशंस में एग्जैक्टली क्या चीजें करता है, is going to some is something that is going to really help you in different situations. So have a quick understanding of note making as well. So every website basically has this option. You can right click on the player, or you can click on a different player, and you can give them different colors. Use those colors to profile a player specifically. And there is also a box underneath where you can type notes. The idea is to have detailed notes so that you can get specific information and reads on your opponents. That is one thing. The other thing is that these detailed notes can be used to easily exploit your opponents in really specific situations and spots in the game. So now do you see how we've kind of connected player profiling with note making? A profile will tell you a player type, and note making will tell you specifics about that particular player type. And what I'm basically going to do now is explain these things to you with examples. And these examples will actually show you how to profile a player and how to basically make notes, and how those notes need to be detailed enough for you to have a basic understanding about somebody. So I've constructed 3 examples for you guys. Let's look at Rahul first of all. So Rahul, let's say in your opinion, qualifies as a tight aggressive player. So in any website, any online platform like a 9stacks or whatever website that you play on, there are different color combinations that are given to you. Choose a color for a particular player type. There is no specific color. It is your choice. Something that you can remember. You have to create it for yourself. So I've chosen blue for a tight aggressive player, right? So if I give him a tag as a blue, as soon as this person comes on my table, I understand that Rahul is a tight aggressive player. Now, these are some notes that I have on Rahul. So Rahul opens 3x with ace king suited from under the gun +1, and he decides to c-bet 35% of the pot on the flop even when he does not hit the board. So understand the kind of information that I have picked up on Rahul through just one play. One was that he opened 3 big blinds. So that's a big sizing that he chose with ace king suited from early position. So मेरे को ace king पता है कि वो early position से खेलता है, मेरे को ये भी पता है कि वो 3x open करता है. फिर मुझे पता है कि queen 9-4 board आया था, and he decided to still bet 35% when he did not connect. So he decided to bet with 2 overs and he did not connect. So it tells me a lot about how Rahul is going to play. So he's going to play a good range of hands like ace kings and all from early position, and he's also going to be slightly aggressive post flop because he still bets on a queen 9-4 board. Extremely important for you guys to understand the logic behind this. I've also mentioned the stack size, because it's important for you to know that this person Rahul, what kind of stack size was he doing this with? Was this stack size a small stack? Was this a big stack? Was this a medium stack? That is also going to give you a basic idea. So next time when you have Rahul on your table and he's opening from early position, you can create a range for him. You can understand that he's going to play this way with these kind of hands. Next time if he decides to bet on the flop, you will know that he's not always doing this with made hands. He can also do it with 2 over cards because he's done it in the past. So the idea is to have these specific understandings about players, right? Now, another example would be under the gun opens and he flat calls with ace queen suited from middle position. Now, this gives you certain understanding about Rahul's game. So if Rahul has a 30 big blind stack and he's flat calling from middle position, he can have a strong hand like ace queen suited as well. Now, this is going to help you in the future. Now, next time when you're trying to understand what Rahul is going to flat call you with, you will know that Rahul can flat call with ace queen suited as well, guys. It's not necessary for Rahul to just have some weaker hands or weaker like hands like 10 jack, 9 10, king 10, so on and so forth. He can have some very strong ace x hands as well, especially when he's close to 30 big blinds. Now, these are specific notes, right? Now let's look at somebody like an Arjun here, who's a loose aggressive guy. Under the gun opens to 3 big blinds and he 3-bets from middle position to 9 big blinds with 9-10 suited. Now we all understand 9-10 suited is not necessarily one of the best hands to 3-bet with, right? He continues to bet on ace queen 9 rainbow board with 40 big blinds effective. So firstly we know under the gun ने open किया था, तो हमें पता है कि under the gun जब open करता है उनकी range काफी tight होती है. Despite that, Arjun with a 40 big blind stack was willing to put in 9 big blinds with 9-10 suited. So it's in some ways a 3-bet bluff. It's not a value 3-bet, guys. So he's doing this as a 3-bet bluff. So we need to understand he's very loose pre-flop with his openings and his 3-bettings, and he's also aggressive post-flop. Another example of a note could be he opens pocket fives from early position. His opening range from early position is close to 18%. Now, if you think a typical opening range should be close to 10-12% from early position, now you know 18% is on the wider side. So you have to make adjustments according to this against a player like Arjun. Now, a player like Karan, let's take Karan Sahani, our host here, for an example, because I know him for a fact to be a maniac, and a lot of people have told me as well, and I'm sure he's going to accept that himself. Karan, let's say here is a note on him. So under the gun, open to 2 big blinds, fairly tight range. Middle position decides to 3-bet that person to 6.5 big blinds, and Karan decides to jam his 30 big blind stack with pocket fours. Now understand what his expectation is. His expectation is to A, maybe win with pocket fours, or B, maybe get folds from out of those two guys. You need to understand under the gun is tight. That tight player is getting 3-bet by another player who's in middle position, and Karan decides to just go all in with any two cards like pocket fours from late position. The idea is that he's being overly optimistic here in the way he's playing his hand, right? The other notes of a maniac could also be that they're like a calling station. So here is an example. Called a pot size bet on the flop and the turn with a gut shot. Now, if I include mathematics into this, just understand the kind of things I can learn about Karan in the future. A gut shot has 4 outs. 4 outs basically means he has close to 16% equity on the flop. Now, when I bet the pot, let's say 100 रुपए का pot है, 100 रुपए में मैंने 100 रुपए की bet करी. Karan will basically gets Karan is basically getting 2-1 pot odds. Basically, he requires 33% equity to call, but he only has 16% equity to call. So he's making a very wrong decision in terms of chasing a draw on the flop and the turn. So I have a read that Karan is a calling station. Next time I can bet as big as I want against him when I have a made hand, because he's going to call me with all his draws and he's going to call any price. So he does not really care about that. So that is another aspect of note making. So two things in these examples, guys. Give different colors to different player types. That is going to basically help you differentiate between different player types immediately. And now within different player types, start giving them specific detailed notes. The idea is for the notes to be detailed, because if they're not detailed, then you're not going to learn enough information about your opponents the next time you have them on your table. That is extremely, extremely important for you to understand. Here is a flow chart. Here is a basic flow that I want you guys to follow. So number one, be aware on the table. And awareness does not mean that you have to be aware in the hands that you're playing. You can also make some very, very good notes and reads on your opponents based on how they're playing against each other on the table. So build a player profile based on your table awareness. Make detailed notes. These notes need to be in your language, a language that you understand. Now, let me give you an example of detailed notes. Let's say you make a note on somebody which says 3-bets with pocket sevens. Sure, that will tell you that this guy likes to 3-bet with pocket sevens from time to time. But very, very importantly, what you need to understand here, guys, is that if you just added that this guy 3-bet me from pocket sevens from middle position with a 50 big blind stack when I had opened from under the gun, that is going to give you immense amount of information, and that is going to take your game to another level, because you're not just sticking to a fact that he can 3-bet with pocket sevens. Sure, now you know that he 3-bet me with pocket sevens from this position when I had opened from this position, and his stack size was that much. That just gives you a whole new picture about that particular player. One very, very important thing about note making and player profiling is, guys, that you need to revise your notes whenever it's required. A player evolves. Every poker player improves. A player will never remain to be the same player throughout their game. So the idea is that you need to revise your notes whenever you play with a particular player again. So if a person like Karan or a person like Rahul from the previous slide comes on your table and you have a specific note or a read on him, just make sure, is he playing that same way or has he changed his game? So if you think he's made adjustments in his game, you need to start making adjustments in your notes as well. Now, you need to now start exploiting based on your reads. It is extremely important. You need to start exploiting players based on their reads. You need to start exploiting players based on what your understanding is. And this is where you will realize that A, you will start running deeper. into tournaments. B, you will be a lot more profitable as a player. C, you will realize that when you develop other skills like following ranges, when you develop other skills like following mathematics and understanding the fundamentals of the game, this aspect of the game is going to only take those other aspects, the skill aspects of the game, to another level. So this is basically going to just help connect the entire game together and for you to make better informed decisions in poker. That is it for now, guys. I'm going to have Karan join in and we're going to take this forward from there. Karan, are you there, bro?
Hello?
What's
For
up,
me?
bro?
Bro, you called me a fish and all. I was thinking, what is this, bro? Like,
That's
what kind of
friendly banter, my friend. Friendly banter. Okay, Karan, I'll have to excuse myself for 1 second, bro. Really apologize for this. I actually forgot to keep my charger right next to me. It's on the other end of the room. So I'm just going to get off the screen for 1 second, get my charger. I'm down to 3%. The last thing I want is for the call to get disconnected. Just excuse me,
Yeah,
guys. I really
sure.
apologize for this.
No worries. I think by the time Prajit comes in, I'll try to entertain the audience in a way. But yeah, like I was quite surprised when he, like, okay, what happened to, like, okay, can you guys see me? Because okay, I'm back. So I don't know, like, I was actually watching the stream. I was writing notes what Prajit was actually talking about, and then suddenly I see on the slide it says Karan, and below that is mentioned Maniac, who jams pocket four with 30 bigs and all. I was like, oh my god, man, like he's actually right. I do that at times, like it's not the right play, okay. अरे माने गिव अवे बिना गिव अवे के भी कभी आ जाया करो यार गिव अवे मेरे को ले लो टेक मी ब्रो आई विल बी द बिगेस्ट गिव अवे but yeah, like Rajat, I was just telling them, that when I saw my name on the slide, I was like, "Arey yaar, did he actually just call me a maniac?" And then I read, okay, 30 BB button jam pocket fold. I'm like, हाँ कभी कभी मैं कर लेता हूँ, so it's fine, it's okay.
I remember while I was making this small presentation, I remember the last time I was here, somebody in the chat told me that you jammed 6-3 suited against them in a 3-bet pot. So I remembered, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is Karan. I'm going to have his name here and I'm going to use this as an example for people to understand different player types. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, of course. Like bro, like it is 6-3. It's like this. Okay, at times I'm actually a maniac because I will not care about what the board is or like if as soon as I get the hand and I say, okay, irrespective whatever it's, I'm just gonna punt everything in the hand. I just do that, and luckily at times it's that intuition that suddenly comes in. So it's not about the cards that time you have, right? We have now reads. People are like, yeah, reads.
So one more thing to add, guys, here. So if Karan is not doing this kind of play every single time, he would then basically qualify as a hybrid player. So he's not just going to be a maniac. He might just be a tight aggressive player sometimes. He might be a maniac sometimes. So have a note. I mean, make sure your notes are revolving on Karan and other players you play against. That's extremely important.
So, Prajit, just bringing on I was actually I was actually attending a session, and you actually talked about a couple of important aspects. But one thing that I want to ask you before we take on the audience questions, if there are any, I haven't checked yet. But tell me this, like, do you think do you think that player profiling and note making is a very important aspect, even like when somebody is just started their poker journey? Because I'm sure they're not accustomed to such aspects of the game, you know?
Okay, so here is the thing. Like I also try to kind of give a brief on this within the webinar today. I personally feel that poker has various aspects to it, and in order for you to be a good player in poker, you really can't ignore one aspect and say I'm only going to concentrate on a few. That's usually the case with everything that you intend to do in life also, that you can't be ignoring certain aspects of things and then hoping to do well in the others without giving certain things their importance and their due. So I feel this
Okay.
also requires a lot of importance. Similarly to like a bankroll management, that requires a lot of importance. Like we can continuously keep on saying that you can be the best player in the world, but if you start playing outside your bankroll because of the variance in the game, you might end up losing a lot more money than you're supposed to win, right? So similarly, if you can be a very good skilled player, but if you're just concentrating on your game and not taking into consideration what your opponents are doing or could be doing to exploit you or exploiting them in return is just going to not help you get to another level. So you would find yourself stuck at a basic level and you're not going to be able to go past that glass ceiling, is how I see it.
Okay. I think one of the questions that I could read, one was that like there's a user like Focus Star. He just asked if you could explain him what EV is in
Sorry.
Prajit's style. You can explain him what EV is.
Okay, so EV is basically expected value.
Yeah.
This is something that I would this is something that would qualify as a mathematical fundamental in poker. So there is a basic formula to calculate EV. You're not supposed to do that in the game. I mean, it's a slightly complex formula, not too complex, fairly decent, but you can't really do those calculations in the game. But it's a basic mathematical fundamental that allows you to understand what decision you're taking in the game, and whether that decision is going to be a plus EV or a minus EV determines whether you're going to make profit in the long term while making that particular decision, or you're going to making or are you going to be making losses while taking that particular decision in the long term. So plus EV would suggest that it is a long term profitable decision to make. It may not work in that given instance. For example, if you have aces and those aces lose against a 10 jack, typically speaking, if you had gone all in pre-flop with aces against 10 jack, that was a plus EV decision, guys, right? Because you understand that you're ahead, your range is better, so on and so forth. Aces play better, your equity is higher, but it does not mean that you will win every single time, or you would win in the short run. So the idea is expected value is something that you expect to make by taking a consistent decision. And if it's a plus EV decision, you would be expecting to make profit. Now, how much profit will be determined by the dollar EV, right? Or how much chips would be determined by the chip EV, which are slightly more advanced concepts within this.
Okay. Cool. I hope that answered. I think you very well explained it. So I'm sure you answered this question very well. I think one of the questions that Harsh Raj wanted to ask was that how to make adjustments again of player after making notes on it.
Yeah.
I
So
think that's quite a nice question. Yeah.
yeah, Harsh. So like I so here is, I'm just going to go back and kind of open the presentation
Sure.
once again and go back to a particular slide where I was talking about the kind of adjustments that we should be making. Right. So these are at a very basic level. So Harsh, for you to understand, first the steps are player type, understanding their tendencies, and then making these adjustments. So based on the kind of player who you're targeting is how you want to make those adjustments. So if you think, let's say you're on the button, okay, simple example, and you have a basic idea of what hands to open from the button. Let's say you're opening 40% of your range or whatever, 45% of your hands from the button. But I tell you that there are two regs who are on the small blind and the big blind. Now, by that, you should have specific reads on them that they would also know their ranges, and they would also not be passive. They would be aggressive, and they would be three betting you pretty wide, right? So in those particular scenarios, your adjustment should be that now instead of opening a wider range from button, I want to go slightly tighter, right? Because I want to compensate and have that little bit of value against them and the little bit of equity against them if they decide to three bet me. That is one adjustment that you would make if you have an understanding of somebody is on the blinds who is extremely aggressive and who's a regular player. On the other side, if I shift this to an example where you know that on the blinds are two players who have no idea about poker, who do not know how to defend their blinds effectively, who have not been defending their blinds in the last 7 or 8 orbits at all. So then you should not just open a limited set of hands. You can start opening a wider range of hands, and that's the adjustment you should be making, because then you know they will be folding and you can make auto profits against them. These are some basic examples, and these can then be translated into different situations on different positions against different player types.
Okay. Cool. I hope Harsh that answers your question. One of the questions that Manik wanted to ask you was that Rajit, on a table of 8 out of 9 in a tournament, 9 or 8, it's either a 9-hand or 8-handed tournament. How do we concentrate on all of them? Like when we actually have to make notes or profile them, how to read so many players at once is basically my question. I think the question is on the screen itself.
Sure. I mean, here is the thing. I think the most conclusive reads that you could actually get on some opponents is when you actually see a hand that reaches showdown. Okay, because without seeing a showdown hand, it becomes very, very difficult for you to understand. So if an opponent opens somebody calls and that opponent bets on the flop and the other person folds. You don't really get to read so much, right? You only know he opened, called, and then he bet on the flop and he folded, right? You don't know if it was a bluff or if it was a value bet or if it was a regular C bet or not, right? So you've not really learned or picked up anything. More importantly, you need to concentrate on hands that reach showdown, not just your hands, but hands between your opponents as well, because then you have to go back in the replayer, because you're obviously not playing all hands. You're also sitting on the table doing nothing a bunch of the times. You're folding a lot of hands, and while you're folding, you have to go back in the replayer, see what different players did on the pre-flop, on the flop, on the turn, on the river, and then what hands did they specifically show on showdown. That is where you will be able to make reads on 8 or 9 players. To be honest, 8 or 9 players should not be that difficult. But once you start multi-tabling and so on and so forth, and if you're playing 4 tables or 5 tables or 6 tables at once, it tends to get very, very difficult. And that is why you have to start utilizing third-party softwares like HUDs and all to and incorporate those in your game, because those kind of then add value and help you give specific reads without you making too much of an effort.
Okay. I think that was very well answered again. Prajit, tell me this. Yeah, one question is that like, so I understand, like I think even Naveen. So Naveen, just quickly answering to your question, if the notes remain the same, even if the person changes their username, yes, the notes always remain the same. If the person
Yep.
has changed their username, the notes don't
Yep.
change. So
More
at time what I do
importantly,
is at
guys,
times, yeah.
yeah, more. So sorry to cut you. More importantly, what I do is if I know
Hmm.
it's a good player, or if it's a known player in the industry, or if it's a very big name in the industry, and I just write their name in the notes as well, so that next time if they change their name, you will know who that
Yeah.
player is. Like, sorry, go ahead, Karan. You were
Even
saying
I
something.
do that. Even I do that. Even like I was about to tell the same thing. At times I've written couple of names against some people so that I know, like, even if whatever they change their name, maybe I know their name and I will get get an idea of their gameplay.
Correct.
So that's also at times I do. Okay. Another question is that okay, I think I'm gonna pick up something which I read was mm, just a second, Rajit.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Amit says that most of the time player call 30% of pot on a turn card or a flat call on turn. Please brief on what type of player that person is. Not sure if you got the question because I didn't. So maybe you got it.
There is a lot of information missing here. I'm sorry. Who was this question from?
It's from Amit.
Amit, my friend, there's a lot of information missing here. I mean, I have no idea about what positions you're playing from, what ranges you're playing, what the board texture is, what your whether you were semi bluffing, whether you were bluffing, so on and so forth. Because a lot of things would go into answering this particular question. So without those information, without that specific information, it'll be very difficult for me to tag a particular player. And also, guys, one very important thing that I want you guys to understand is that sample size makes a huge difference, right? So if a person does one mistake once, does not make him that kind of a player. But if he consistently keeps doing something, and you have a basic understanding that he always does something like this, or he often does something like this, is when the sample size comes into context, and you can start utilizing those reads in a specific way. So most of the time players call 30% of the pot of the turn card or flat call on the turn. Please brief on type player. Slightly difficult for me to answer this, Amit Kumar. If you have any additional information on this particular spot, please put it in the chat and I'd be more than happy to address it.
Cool. Okay. I think since we are also getting close to IPL starting, and I'm sure a lot of people would jump in to see the IPL rather than seeing our faces, because
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
will see IPL once a year. They'll see us more often than IPL.
I'd rather
So
see
I
some
think,
IPL myself, bro.
sorry.
I'm gonna see some IPL myself, bro. Like,
Yeah,
I
even actually, even I the day IPL started, I saw the first match. Then I was like, yeah, theek hai. I don't think it happens at the same time when I'm playing poker that time. So I thought I'll prefer playing poker then. Because then I go to like Hotstar and I play for like the 15-minute highlight of the entire match.
like
That
that.
sums it all, man. That gives me that IPL feeling. So I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, it's done.
sure.
Cool. Okay. So Prajit, thank you so much for the webinar. I think it was quite a good one. It was very informative in its own way. And I'm sure a lot of people who haven't tried or don't do note making or player profiling effectively, I'm sure they're going to be start doing it. That's something
Mhm.
that I really want to thank you because you keep coming in from time to time and you keep giving out the knowledge and you keep sharing out with people like us who actually need it. So
Mhm.
thank you for that, Prajit. And I'm sure the audience also liked your session. I'm sure I could see a couple of replies coming in the comments as well. So thank you for that. Just
You're
one
welcome.
question we just got. So like the question is that I'm facing no problem. I think we can avoid this question because it's. But okay, let's take it up. Prajit, from a few days, I'm facing a problem that whenever I three bet with my ace king and villain calls with pocket pairs, I hit top pair and the other guy have made trips. I always thought I'm on the upper hand, but at the end I lose a big pot. It's not sure
It's
what much can be done.
Here's the thing. Firstly, if it's only been happening for a few days, it's all right. Not a big problem. It happens with everyone, so understand that aspect. It's okay. If it's happened a few times, it'll also happen the other way around, where your opponent does not connect, or if your opponent has a pair and has a single pair or something like that, and you get paid off. It's just, you just have to understand this is maybe just a bad run that you're going through, bad phase. You're consistently doing something correct, which is three betting with your ace king, which is a good sign. Keep doing that, and if you're hitting a top pair and then losing to a set on the flop, I really don't mind if you're a short stack there. But if you're a deeper stack and if you're playing 100 big blinds or 80 big blinds plus, then you could make small adjustments, and based on how your opponent is playing, if you're getting check raised on the flop or check raised on the turn, then try and put them on these ranges where they can have sets and try and lose the minimum in those situations.
Okay, cool. One last question, Prajit. Raja says that players who don't have basic mathematical understanding, how to play against them. Anything on that?
I would suggest that if you have the right mathematical understanding, you should basically start playing based on that and start exploiting them. So if you know a player does not really care about math and he's anyways going to call you off, right? So stop bluffing that guy. Do not put your chips in if you think he's a fish, because he's going to call you off anyways. You don't want to get into flips with them because you should have a post flop advantage against those guys. So then why do you want to gamble with them? And thirdly, if you actually do connect and when you actually do have a value hand, go boom, just go boom, 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 bet, take some money because he's going to pay you off. So that's the basic adjustment you should be making against these guys.
Cool. Okay. Thank you so much, Prajit, for answering all the questions. Thank you so much for again giving a informative session. Okay, there's one more question. I think she is asking this again. How to change your mindset that your opponent have better hand than yours, because it's been affecting her game from quite some time now.
Who is this from?
It's from Aaron Kiran.
Okay, yeah. So she also wrote, I'm going through a big mindset problem that every time, may it be a medium strength or a premium hand, I overthink. For example, I have ace 10 and the flop is ace 9 5. I will have only one thing, that he might have a better hand or a bigger kicker. I think, Kiran, what you basically have to start doing is start thinking in terms of ranges. I think this is where your problem lies. Your opponent can have a better kicker. Your opponent should not also have a better kicker in certain situations. So if you have an ace 10 or an ace jack and your opponent flat calls you with an ace queen, you can lose once, but that's okay. But if you're not making the immediate note on that particular opponent that he flat called you with ace queen instead of three betting you there, then that is your leak. You have to make that specific note, because I'm understanding an opponent would usually three bet you with ace king. So firstly, stop playing weaker kickers. That's my first recommendation. If you have that problem, don't play weaker kickers from out of position situations. So try to have better hands there. And other than that, I would just suggest that you need to start thinking in terms of ranges. And if you think your opponent can have a better ace x or a better king x in his particular range, then you have to play passive. Then just play check calling rather than betting and getting raised off the pot or losing a lot of money. So try and minimize your losses in situations where you think you're behind, and maximize your wins in situations where you think you're ahead. So think like that.
Okay, perfect. Just 1 second. If there's any, let me take it up. Okay, Prajit, I'll ask you one question. Okay, one last question.
Sure.
If like, what are the three things, right? Like we should keep in mind while actually being in different stages of tournaments, right? Like if you could just give us a brief. I remember you spoke about this earlier in the past as well, and this is something that people actually are face this common problem. How to play at three different stages, which is uh, early registration, middle level, and the late level. So you just tell us like one important aspect for every stage. I think that can be good for me and for the audience in a way.
So, because this is a very complex question that you've asked, I'm just going to try and oversimplify this. It's not going to be the most accurate answer, because I'm oversimplifying it, and I also have short, and we're also short on time to answer this. So, in the early stages, you need to understand one aspect, that everyone is deep stacked. Everyone is going to have 100 plus big blinds or 200 big blinds when you're starting. So you have to understand hand strength plays a big issue there. So the SPR is going to be deep. You need to have stronger hands to go deeper and to call off big raises. I would also not recommend people to be gambling too much, and the other aspect that you have to consider is your open sizing and your 3-bet sizing needs to be on the bigger side in comparison to when you're in the middle and the late stages, because people have deeper stacks, so you have to adjust your sizing that ways. Similarly, in the middle stages and the late stages, you have to make significant adjustments to your opening sizing and your 3-bet sizings as well, because if your stack starts getting smaller, you have to start adjusting your sizings as well. More than that, what is extremely important is that in the middle stage of a tournament or a late stage of a tournament, you do not have all deep stacks on a single table. You will have somebody who has 10 bigs, you will have 20 bigs, you will have 40 bigs, you'll also have 100 bigs, whereas you might yourself might have 25 bigs, right? So you're playing with a bunch of different guys who are on different positions with different stack sizes. So this is where a very important concept of SPR starts being applied significantly. So have a look at that, and increase your understanding about that particular concept. Be aware of who you're getting into a pot with, what that person's stack size is, the level of commitment you would have in that particular situation. Based on that, start understanding what hands to 3-bet, when to 3-bet, and what hands to flat call with. Very important. And in late stages, if you're in the money, then if you're a big stack, you need to apply a decent amount of pressure. And you also, the idea is for you to understand that your advantage is in maintaining your chip lead, so do not give any free double ups, whereas keep aggressively playing your medium strength and good and premium hands, because you want to chip up as well. If you're a short stack and you've made it into the money, you really can't succeed unless and until you double up, right? So either double up or go out, go home, you've made your min cash or whatever. The idea is not to have a min cash mentality, but if you're really short and you've really made the money that you wanted to in that particular tournament, the idea is you can only succeed if you double up. The tricky bit is when you're a medium stack. So if there are 20 people left and you're ranked 12 or you're ranked 13 or you're ranked 14,
Yeah.
and you play passive, right? You will end up losing and getting out of that tournament when you're ranked 13, 14 or 15. You would find yourself getting eliminated in those situations because you did not take enough chances. You need to understand, for you to propel in that particular tournament, you'll have to take certain chances, and you'll have to take those chances against the short stacks or against the bigger stacks, because the bigger stacks would in some ways be applying unreasonable pressure to you. So you can start increasing your 3-bet jams there depending on your hand strength and also depending on your stack size. So if you take those chances, you need to understand that the ICM implications are not huge. The amount of money that you will make by getting out on 20th position and getting out on a 14th position is not going to be huge, because the maximum money is supposed to be made on the final table, guys. So take those specific chances. Don't mind getting out 20th, don't mind getting out 15th, but if those work for you, you would find yourself on the final table with the opportunity of shipping it. So that's how you have to approach these different phases in a tournament. Briefly explained, there's a lot more that goes behind it, but this was super brief.
I think to understand more, I think Monster Book Club has a very nicely run Discord channel. It's called as the MPC Discord. We have added the links in the comment section. It's a free to join Discord group. You guys can join. I had also joined it a couple of months back, and it's a good way of you learning every day, when you can actually ask all these questions from time to time, and Prajit is the one who will actually be answering, or you will have a lot of other people also answering. So you'll get different views from different people. So I think that is something you can also do. I think,
Yep.
with that being said, Prajit, one thing that I really liked recently that you guys came up with was your Monster Poker Academy. So would you just want to, like, in brief, talk about what the MPC, what the Monster Poker Academy is about? Like, just not very detailed, but a brief version of this.
Yeah. So when we started this webinar, you spoke about the various layers that we've added to MPC. This is one of them.
Yeah.
This is the academy section, where what we're basically doing is bringing a specially curated and designed multi-table tournament course for people to take their game to the next level. I'm going to be the coach here. I'm going to be taking you through a bunch of sessions and a bunch of brilliant things that we do. Just to give you a brief of what you can expect in these sessions, is that there'll be 9 sessions, a minimum of 90 minutes each, which I guarantee usually never end in 90 minutes. I've had sessions go on for 100, and I'm more than happy to extend those timings, because it's just much more fun when people ask a lot more questions and we make them as interactive as possible. When I say you're going to expect the maximum amount of value for the least amount of cost, is because at MPC, the idea, the reason behind why we came up with this was because there was a lot of free learning happening within the community. There's a lot of free hand reviews happening. There was a lot of free strategy discussion happening. And some players also demanded that they wanted to really succeed more in their game and take it to another level. This is where we came up with a very pocket-friendly priced course in order for a lot of the masses to kind of avail the benefits that we're offering. So just to give you a brief of what I'm teaching in different sessions, we'll be starting from something very, very basic, like bankroll management, like player profiling, a lot more in depth, like note making, a lot more in depth, like understand the basics between GTO and exploitative strategies. Also, I'm going to be answering a lot of queries, and I'm going to be explaining and recommending books that increase your mental game aspect as well. So how to tackle tilt, how to be more focused, how to grind for longer periods of time, so on and so forth. So this is something that you can expect in the first session. Now things start getting more complex. In the second session, we'll be covering the entire mathematics part of poker, like EV calculation, like understanding variance, like pot odds, like equity, SPR, hand combos and blockers, a bunch of other things as well. I'm not mentioning all of them, but there is so much that we're going to cover here. In session number 3, we're covering how to approach MTTs. Going forward, I'll also be covering opening ranges, opening sizing from different position with different stack sizes. We're covering 3-betting ranges, playing versus 3-bets and 4-betting ranges, their sizings and different positions, just increasing the complexity of things. Then we're also covering post-flop aspects of when to c-bet, when to check, what sizing to choose, what frequency to choose. This is the theory bit, Karan. More important than the theory in poker is the practicality, because you can learn certain things, but if you don't apply them to your game, it kind of backfires, right? So then we have 6 sessions of theory. Once we cover these, we have 3 sessions of practical understanding as well, in which there'll be hand analysis session 1, there'll be hand analysis session 2, in which we bring in an expert from within the community, a top poker player, or I'm going to be reviewing some of my tournaments with you as well. And then in the last session, we're also doing a stream specifically for the students where I play a bunch of tournaments and show them exactly how I'm implementing the things that I'm teaching them. These are not just in isolation for you to know. This is something that I will be using in my game and showing you the logic behind things on how you can actually increase your profitability in poker. So a nice balance of theory and practicality is going to basically help people excel in their game.
So how much is this course for?
At this point in time, we're targeting it for 9,999 per person. This course will go on for a month.
Yeah.
We try to keep it extremely pocket friendly. This course is going to go on for a month because we like to finish 9 sessions within a month. We're targeting 2 sessions every week, one on a weekday, one on a weekend, 90 minutes. I think this is more than enough for you to take your game to the next level. One thing that I do guarantee in some ways in this course is that once you're done with this, you would have a lot better understanding of the game. You would be a thinking player, and you would not be making the same kind of errors that you're currently making. That's going to have a really, really good impact on your long-term game aspects. So just as a special discount for the next couple of days, we have a 10% discount running. So firstly, I want to thank each and everyone within the community, within the poker environment, within the ecosystem for giving MPC, the Monster Poker Academy, such a good response. We launched this course last month. Man, I can't thank people enough. We picked up 12 people last month and we coached them. All of them have given us excellent feedback. It's been beautiful. This month's course, the batches start from the 10th, which is the day after. So
which is my birthday too. It's my birthday date as well. Good day.
Brilliant. Awesome. Auspicious day for us to start our course, bro. So we're going to start it from the 10th, which is the day after, a Saturday. We've already filled up 1 batch again, and we're on the verge of filling up the 2nd batch, which is awesome. So a couple of slots left. So whoever comes through this webinar, whoever wants to reach out to us can reach out to me on Monster Poker Club Discord, or reach out to Karan. If you have his contact, he can reach out to us. You can type it in the chat. You can reach out to Sumit, who's on Monster Poker Club Discord. Have a look at the course. Understand what I'm teaching. If you think we're adding enough value, guys, reach out, because I promise you, it's going to be awesome. So we're going to start in the next couple of days, which is on the 10th. A couple of slots remain. So super excited to start another batch. Don't forget to look we're teaching on monsterpokerclub.com. That's our website. This is where, if you want full details of the course, exactly understand what we're teaching in session 1, 2, 3, 4, going up to session 9, Each and everything has been mentioned on our website. Read it, be satisfied with it, and then come and join us, guys.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I think that was quite a detailed explanation, Prajit. But I wish you all the best for your
Thanks, man.
upcoming batch. And guys, if you are interested, you can always reach out to the MPC team, and they can always help you out. They are very active with their replies. So if you want to get more details, please reach out to Prajit and his team. With that being said, thank you so much, Prajit. It was great having you with us again. Thank you so much for putting in your time and effort, because I'm sure a lot of time also goes in making this PPT, putting our thoughts together, and again giving free knowledge as well. So thank you so
Yep.
much for that. It was great having you like always, and good luck for your upcoming batch. Good luck for your month of October. Wish you keep getting more and more students from time to time. So
Perfect.
yeah, thank you so much,
Thanks
Prajit.
a lot,
Thank you.
Mindstack. Thanks a lot, Karan, for giving me this opportunity again. It's always been fun. And thanks a lot for each and everyone who tuned in. If you guys have any questions and we missed out on any questions, reach out to me on Discord, guys. I'd be more than happy to address them. Peace out from
Okay.
my end. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye bye.
So that was it. Prajit again taking 1 hour from his busy schedule, coming over and talking us about note making, player profiling. So I think this is one of the important aspects of the game. So I think it was a good session. Thank you so much, Prajit. Again, thank you to all of you who joined. For the ones who asked me about the Man Ki Baat session, we took a break this week because we are coming up with the new season, which is season two, on Monday at 6:30 p.m. So that 7:30 you guys can start watching your IPL. We're gonna start at 6:30 p.m. on Monday. We have again a crazy guest coming in on Monday. So see you there at 6:30. And thank you so much for joining in today. And thank you, Rajat, for the birthday wishes. Thank you. Bye bye and good luck.